Hey guys, Todd here with 306 Foxbody. I got some sad news. Well, sad for me, good for somebody else. The 92 has found a new home. Actually, I couldn't be happier to where it's going. The fellow that's buying the car, he's a really good Mustang guy. He's going to look after it. I couldn't be happier. But I was getting the car ready it's going to go this week. And I moved it out of my garage. I was juggling the cars around and I saw some antifreeze on the floor. So anyways, the water pump started leaking. It's not out the usual ports like on the bottom. It's actually the backing plate to the timing cover on the bottom. I'll post a picture. That's where it's leaking. So let's see what it takes to change a water pump on one of these cars. And if you have to change a water pump on a car like this, 5-liter Mustang, I'll show you what it takes. It's not that hard. So let's get into it and we'll make it as quick and to the point as possible. The first thing you do, undo your battery cables. For starters, loosen off your bolts on your fan. They're 7/16. There's 4 of them. Loosen them off before you take your belt off. And your belt tensioner, that's an 18 mil to get the belt off. You'll have to loosen your fan and then these two. And then your overflow tank, the hose that goes from the bottom of the overflow tank to the radiator, you got to undo that as well. Then you take the fan and the shroud out together. Next, with your 18mm wrench, go into the Serpentine Belt, take note of the belt routing, and take the belt off. And then the water pump pulley will come off as well. Okay, our car's got air conditioning, so these are 9/16. This one is 1/2 inch. That's 11/16, and that one's probably 9/16 as well. So you got to take off your AC bracket. If it was a power steering car, that's it. There might be a bracket down here. And then we get ready to drain our coolant. Next, get a clean catch basin. And what we're going to do is, I've got a clamp that clamps off the lower rad hose so we don't drain everything out of the radiator. We'll be removing this clamp right here, and this will have coolant gushing out into our catch basin. Make sure it's nice and clean because you'll be putting lots of the coolant back into the system if it's in good condition. This car has new coolant in it, so we're going to want to recover it. Then you'll take off this hose and this hose. Next, remove these 2 hose clamps. Pry off the hoses and replace any as necessary. Next we have 5/8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd recommend don't use an impact. Do this by hand, and your water pump should come right off after that. If you're not sure where the bolts go, make a little diagram just like the water pump and keep them all in order. This is where our water pump was leaking, out the back panel that bolts to the back of the water pump. The gasket had failed. Now that you have all the bolts in order, what you got to do is you got to clean them spotless, and if the threads are in bad shape, look at getting new bolts. Either buff them, or in some cases, if you have a sandblaster, you could sandblast them. You got to make them look like new again. And then have some sealant to put on the bolt threads because it goes into the block. Very important. Next thing, you got to make sure you clean all the gasket surface off. I cleaned all this off There's a little bit of residue all the way around. I also jacked the car up a bit. That way the coolant will drain towards the back of the block, and it's not going to sit right at the edge and then get all this surface all wet after you work on it. Use a razor blade or on the end of a drill. Don't get too aggressive. This is aluminum. Just make it nice and clean. I'll have to put the camera down so I can do a good job, but that's what you do on here. Okay, here's what it should look like. Nice and clean. Okay, I put silicone on the gasket between the plate and the water pump, and I put a high-tack gasket sealant around the ports here. And I also did it on the timing cup. There, let everything sit, retighten all your bolts, make sure your clamps are tight, and then you can button up the rest. Basically, put the water pump pulley on, put the fan and the shroud in together, tighten the fan back on, top up your coolant, let it run, just get all the air bubbles out, and you're good to go. It's not that hard of a job, anybody could do it. Hope that helps somebody out on changing a water pump on a 5-liter Mustang. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next video. Well guys, this is my last tour in the 92. It just drives so nice. Like it really drives super nice. This is the car that I wish I would have done a few more road trips on. I went to a couple car shows with it. I was really happy. Like I went out of town with it.